The other day Jurgen Klopp had a scandal in absentia with the coach of the Senegalese national team Aliou Cissé. It's a pity for both coaches, because everything is tied to a banal conflict of interest. The German does not want to release key players for 2 to 5 weeks in overcrowded times, and the Senegalese hopes that all the strongest players will come to the African Cup. Whether there was irony in Klopp's words or not doesn't matter. CAN is really a small tournament. And even more, it is very problematic and organizationally weak. Let's walk through the facts. Tournament every 2 years in winter. This is the biggest claim to the African Championship from the European football community. However, paradoxically, this is the most logical component of the CAN. The fact is that it has been held in this format since 1968. At that time, 8 teams gathered in Ethiopia, the best of which was the Congo-Kinshasa team, now the DRC. This fact did not bypass Europe at all. Only 2 players in that league have played in the European leagues, Mustafa Diop, Senegal, for Amiens, and Alphonse Nyangu, Republic of the Congo, for Liege Standard. Over time, this figure began to grow exponentially, and now it is not uncommon when the applications of teams from the Black Continent do not have representatives of the domestic championship. This is a problem for Europe, but not for the African Football Confederation. She sells TV rights to various countries, including France, this is a country with a lot of people from Africa, to the TV channel Eurosport. If the tournament is held every 4 years, will the number of payments received for media law decrease? Of course, yes. Will their market value grow dramatically? Not a fact. There are a number of reasons that make it impossible to create a successful image of these competitions. Namely, constant changes of host countries. Africa is not the most politically stable region in the world. This is reflected in football. Between 2013 and 2019, 4 CANs took place. And they were all transferred from the primary destination. It all started in Libya. One can talk and write for a long time about politics or freedom of speech in this country, but in the end it was an infrastructurally and economically developed oil country that had its own interests. But in February 2011, a coup began there. CAN 2013 was urgently evacuated to South Africa. Libya guaranteed the championship in 2017, but things in the country did not improve properly, and the Continental Championship in 2017 moved to Gabon. The 2015 African Cup of Nations moved between Morocco and Equatorial Guinea. The reason is Ebola. I wrote about this in March last year. At that time, Guinea was not part of the red zone. Time goes by and concepts do not change, so it won the competition as a matter of urgency. CAN 2019 was to take place in Cameroon. But separatist movements intensified in the south. The English-speaking part of the population declared the independence of the former British region, Ambazonia. Over time, the political crisis was contained, at least for a while, but the African Cup of Nations still moved to Egypt. Security. The official reason for the change in the location of the tournament was the inability of the Cameroonian authorities to provide security guarantees to players and spectators. The fact is that the activities of the insurgents took place near several arenas. But this is only a local problem of a separate African Cup of Nations. Globally, everything is much worse. In African lands, terms such as security, law, or human rights have some meaning. The year 2010 was significant in this respect. Then CAN was still held in even years. That's why 2 big football forums visited Africa at once. Angola hosted the African Championship in January, and the World Cup was held in South Africa in the summer. The reception was not hospitable to everyone. In Angola, things went wrong from the beginning. On January 8, 2010, the separatist group FLEK, fighting for the secession of the province of Cabinda from Angola, fired on a Togolese bus. As a result, 3 people were killed and 9 were injured. "If it weren't for the guards, we would all be dead," Emmanuel Adebayor recalled at the time. "It's one of the worst events I've ever had." The Togolese withdrew from the tournament, but CAN finished with a squeak. And 6 months later, a nightmare began in South Africa, when fans from all over the world came to the country. Statistics indicated that something could go wrong. The annual murder rate in the country is 36 per 100,000 population. The world average is 7 per 100,000 crimes of sexual violence, exceeding 50,000 annually. And of course there is a robbery. Even before the World Cup, BBC journalists spoke with Johan Berger, a staff member at the South African Institute for Security Studies. As for street thefts, they usually do without shots and injuries, Berger said. But criminal elements anticipate that the World Cup will give them an unprecedented space for street theft. In order to preserve his property, he advised to follow the following rules: do not show valuables, try to visit potentially dangerous places in a group of at least 5 or 6 people. Before you go somewhere, consult with the locals, because they know better. These tips did not help the media. Russian ex-player Alexei Smirtin and New Zealand journalists lost valuables directly from hotel rooms, Chinese TV crews were robbed right in the cabin of their car, and a German journalist was deprived of property at a gas station. Of course, FIFA called the 2010 World Cup a benchmark in terms of organization. Recent examples include the withdrawal of the Dr. Congo's bid to host CAN 2019 due to lack of security guarantees during the tournament. Attendance and infrastructure. Here, too, everything is very sad. We will not talk about hospitals or airports. The unofficial reason for depriving Cameroon of the 2019 African Championship was the unpreparedness of several stadiums. Indeed, 2 arenas were opened after the postponed tournament was played in Egypt. One of them will host the final next year. But the last African Championship also presented an amazing spectacle, in terms of approach to infrastructure and comfort of the audience. None of the Egyptian stadiums has a roof. If the competitions took place, as usual, in winter, problems could be avoided. But the African Football Confederation made a brilliant decision, moved the African Cup to June and put the games in 3 slots, 16 p.m., 19 p.m. and 22 p.m. local time. By sunset, the temperature in Egypt was around 40 degrees. As a result, most of the games that did not concern the Egyptian national team and took place before the one-quarter stage did not collect even half of the stadium. Football leagues will always fight against the African Championship. Let's go back to Jürgen Klopp. In the days of the German, Liverpool already suffered from CAN. In 2017, it was during the African tournament that the Merseysiders scored only 3 points in 5 rounds. And the gap from Chelsea increased from 5 points to 10. The club lost not only Maine, but also Matip, who refused to join the Cameroon team and was disqualified. And although the suspension was cancelled after a while, the German missed 2 league games. Recently, referring to the approach of FIFA and the African Confederation to the problem, Klopp said, "Even if a player is injured and cannot play for us, the club must send him to Africa for inspection. and he will return only in a week or two. And we have to plan their trip, provide a flight and give the players a saucer. In today's world, things must be wrong. I sit and talk about it here, and no one listens. It seems to be the most waste of time in history. And it can be understood. In January, 40 Premier League players and a few hundred more from the second leagues will go to Cameroon, but only the strongest will bring their teams to the decisive stages and serve the maximum term on the Black Continent. In Ukraine, Dynamo was the victim. In the 13-14 season, Nigerian Brown Ideye was an iron player of coach Oleg Blokhan's main team, and his statistics pleased the eyes of the fans: 13 goals in 17 matches of the first part of the season. But in January 2013, the forward went to the CAN, played all 7 matches there, Nigeria won gold, returned a week after the deadline and missed the first match of the 1/16 Champions League against Bordeaux. Ideye appeared only as a substitute in the second match. Dynamo lost 0-1 on the road and took off. And this story was the beginning of the Nigerians' departure from the team. Such stories only provoke hostility to the tournament in Europe, which in turn exacerbates the above factors and will not allow the African Cup of Nations to form a normal image and transform into a prestigious tournament for a long time. Because most problems can be solved only as a result of rapid socio-political development of the region.